TPR.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the TPR Pod. Today's episode is with Tausif Hussain. Tausif Hussain is a tech YouTuber based in and out of Canada. He was kind enough to join us on our show. As he's a YouTuber, we talked about the usual YouTube things that you would expect. How'd he start? How's it been going? He's recently moved from a part-time to a full-time YouTuber. So there's a lot of discussion about how he made that switch happen. There's also a significant portion of the podcast devoted to sort of identity related things, mixing a few streams that we've been following on the podcast in the past year. Because Tausif is of desi descent and he's Muslim and he's very vocally, obviously 100% of the time, both of those things. So I asked him about things like representation and how it's been in the community, how his family let him be a YouTuber. Also, if you listen to the very end of the episode, there's a special segment that we ask our guests a specific sort of question. And we asked Tausif that question, and he had an intense story for it. So without further ado, Tausif Hussain on TPR Pod. Have you been invited to many Pakistani podcasts before? Is this a common occurrence?
No, Pakistani podcast for sure, first time. So
right.
Yeah, pretty excited.
Yeah. I would reduce expectations, but thanks very much for coming, man. I'm sorry I've been pestering you for a while. I know you're busy.
No, I appreciate it. I think if I don't get those emails, then it just gets blown away in my inbox.
Yeah. Are you super busy with the YouTube grind nowadays, winding down for the year? How are things going?
So I've just been everything's just been kind of trajecting like busyness in terms of so I just quit my job about a month back.
Oh, you did?
Okay. So now I'm finally full-time YouTube and just business and social media and stuff like that. So just trying to build out some of these other businesses and stuff like that I had in my mind for a long time. Now that I'm not doing the day job, so I have more time. So it's just been busy trying to put all of that together. So it's been pretty hectic.
In this year, it's been weird. I've just been coming across these people who are accountants or involved in like the Big Four and doing creative stuff. I was in the Big Four myself, so I'm like,
no way. Okay.
Yeah, this is not what we do, but also great.
Yeah.
There's you. There's Ethan Shabowski, the food YouTuber. He used to be in Deloitte in tax. Simu Liu, from Shang-Chi, he was in Deloitte for a bit in Canada. I'm like, what is happening? What is this?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So nice. Where were you?
I was in EY in Abu Dhabi and now in Dublin where I live now. Yeah. Okay. So the my accounting job continues, but one of the reasons why I want to talk to you, in case you're wondering, apart from obviously the work you do on YouTube, is I wanted to get into how you found yourself in this situation. Like I'm assuming of desi descent, and then you become an accountant like we do, and you work in the job. Suddenly you're on YouTube, and then things are exploding. There's a creative streak in your videos that that's not everywhere in the tech YouTube space. It's just all these things that I was like, what's the motto? So I guess a good place to start would be the accountancy bit. Is that, how long did you do that? Is that something you wanted to do?
So I really didn't know what I wanted to do for the longest time. So I kind of just started off, in high school when I had to go to university, I didn't really have any interest. Like I was good at studies and everything like that. I was getting good grades. My parents were like, but think about medical, so I was like, I had that whole thing at the back, but like for me, it was like, I didn't want to go into medical, even though because I knew like I was doing well in the courses and stuff like that, but it was a way of life, and I wasn't sure if that was the way of life I wanted.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a career; it's literally like you are dedicating your life to taking care of other people. So you have to like wholeheartedly want to choose that. So then my backup was I was thinking pharmacy, and then one thing led to another, and then eventually I decided, you know what, if I'm not sure, I think the safest route is business, because then when I get into business, then I can kind of go into different industries, and it kind of leaves my options open. So I applied, went into business school, and then even in business, and the thing is, here's the thing, like my whole life, I don't know if it's just the surroundings, the culture, the friends, the people, like extended family, everybody. There's this culture of not wanting to take risks and kind of just
Right.
staying within
Yeah.
your comfort zone, and like doing the safest route possible, right? And that's kind of also what pushed me initially towards accounting, because like it was like, okay, well, business wasn't enough, it had to be accounting, because marketing is the first line to get fired when the
Yeah.
company's having
Yeah.
trouble, right? So it's like, oh, you can't do business, you have to do you have to do accounting.
Yeah.
Accounting's the safest. So I was like, okay, well, okay, fine, let's do accounting, because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I was like, chalo, let's just do this.
Yeah.
Bismillah. So I started doing accounting, and then when I started doing that, it was just kind of like, in that accounting sphere, everybody talked about the big four being like, oh, if you land a big four job, like that's crazy, that's like the cream of the crop, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
whatever. So in like second year, I think I landed like an internship with like a big four. My whole thing was I was really interested in networking and like talking to people and doing that sort of stuff. Whereas the whole finance side, the studying side and stuff wasn't really that intriguing to me. It was more so like the meeting people, networking. So alhamdulillah, I was able to score an internship, started working there, and it was just kind of like everybody around me was like bigging it up, and it was like a big deal. So I was like, okay, well, so I should be grateful for the position I'm in, and let's not question anything. Let's just keep doing it and see where it goes.
Mm.
One thing led to another. I graduated. Then there was like, oh, counting is not enough. You have to have your CA. So then I was like, okay, fine, I'll do my CA. Then
Yeah.
CA is not enough. You have to have, a work experience for several years in a big four. So then I did big four. I was at KPMG first, and then after that, I was like, oh, well, you only have audit experience. You need to have a breadth of experience,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to, do
Yeah.
do stuff. So I was like, okay, well, then I transferred to Deloitte and I did tax consulting there, to get more breadth of experience. And every step of the way, I just kept thinking to myself, like, this is not really what I like. Like, why? Like, at what point do we say, you know what, I can start experimenting with other things? It's safe now to experiment with other
Yeah.
things, and that's what I learned. It's never safe. Like, it doesn't matter if like you're first year university, or it doesn't matter if you're like 10 year in a job, it's not going to feel safe at whatever point, right? And that's what like everybody kept telling me, like, take the safe route, take the safe route, accounting, the job, then this, then designation, then work experience. And it was never ending. So I always tell people, if you don't know what you want to do what you hate.
Mm.
And when I was doing that, literally spending those long hours, so you probably know, like, big 4 hours are no joke,
Yeah.
right? I would be working like 8 9 a.m. since morning to like sometimes 1 a.m. 2 a.m. at night, and even when I go home, it just doesn't leave my mind,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
constantly thinking about it. So I got fed up of it. So I thought, you know what? I just want to do something for myself, like on my own. And at that point, it was like, well, what could I do for myself? And I kind of just defined myself as a finance guy, right? So I'm like, okay, even if I want to do my own business, do I have to open up like a financial firm and do accounting services? But I don't like that. Like, I don't want to do that, right? And then at that point, you know, I decided, you know what, let's do something completely out of the ordinary. Maybe I'll like it, right? So then I had zero idea about how to hold a camera, anything like specs about a camera, nothing. Cameras were never interesting to me until until I actually looked into it and started picking one up.
Mm.
I enjoyed watching movies, filmmaking, and stuff like that. Like, filmmaking wasn't like a thing for me, but I liked watching movies. I never analyzed them. But I also was interested in technology. So I would constantly keep changing my phones. I would buy and sell on like our third party P2P marketplace here. I would buy and sell laptops, tech, and whatnot, just so I could experience different things. So then I thought, you know what, why don't I just put those passions together and try it out? And I think it was the era, if you're into YouTube, like the Casey Neistat era,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, where, everybody was watching him every single day. So I was watching Casey videos like every single morning.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to, I think it was Gary Vee.
Yeah.
And he kind of like pumped me up to like want to do something different. So it was a combination of a few of those things at that moment, kind of like that I was influenced with wanting to start something, wanting to do something creative on my own because of Casey. And then I decided I'll just start making some vids, and then I just started uploading it. It started doing somewhat well. And then, alhamdulillah, the benefit of, I guess, the whole finance and business side of things is that never really left me. So even when I went into YouTube, I kind of approached certain things from that angle, whereas like, if I want to do this full time, I have to build a business. I have to diversify my income streams. I have to do all of these things in order to make this sustainable. So that kind of begun that journey. And then one thing led to another. And here we are after 3.5, 4 years of doing part-time, a couple of videos here and there. Alhamdulillah, I got to a point where I was like, this is more lucrative than my day job. Maybe I should just spend more time on this. And even then, I just didn't feel safe. Like, I have 3 kids. I have mortgage and stuff like that. And I just bought a new home. And so it's never going to feel safe. And it was just, I just had to take that leap of faith. I mean, what people don't tell you is like, what's the worst case, right? Worst case is I do this for like 6 months. It doesn't work. Jobs are always going to be there, right? You can always go back to the market, go back and apply, but you can't, like, it's tough to look back at these years, younger, well, I'm pretty old now, but younger years of your life, and then be like, hey, I wish I tried something different, right? And that's kind of what pushed this. I kind of rambled on a lot. Sorry about that.
No, we can just end the episode here. You summarize the whole journey. It's all there. Let's just go with starting the YouTube thing first then. You start with vlogs, right? That I see the Casey connection. When does it turn into tech?
It turned into tech when I realized that I'm doing a J job. My life is not really that interesting. Like, I can keep doing trips. I can keep doing just random stuff. And I wasn't at the stage where, I'm starting to build businesses or something like that. Like, if I was to do vlogging now, I have a lot more I can show and talk about. But at that point, I was spending like most of my life working, day to night. And then when I come home at night, I'm with the kids and I didn't want to film my kids and family and stuff. So it was just, it just got there. Like, that's why I only did like a trip, I think, a couple of trips. And then after that, I was just like, well, this is not sustainable. So then I thought, okay, what's another interest of mine? And another interest of mine was tech, because I was already into it. So that's when I thought, you know what, let's do tech. And then I kind of tried to find how I can kind of unite those two passions, where I wanted to do storytelling and do my own side of things, versus also wanted to do tech. And that's why, like, from the start, my videos have always, like, the intros would have like the skit, or I'd have some sort of storytelling and like some sort of some cool cinematic stuff that I'll do. So that's pretty much where that whole intersection happened for me.
So do you know who your main influences were at the time? Because you mentioned that you were not super into video making, camera gear, that sort of stuff, but you were into tech in a personal level. So who was the guy you were like, all right, that's an example?
So the filmmaking side of it, I was really inspired by Peter McKinnon, and I still am, a legend in the space. But on the tech side, there were a few people, like, for example, Jonathan Morrison, also known as TLD Today. I really liked what he was doing, which was not really just focusing on the tech and the specs, but like it was like storytelling with tech, where like, okay, how does this tech actually impact people's lives? And that's kind of the niche that I kind of wanted to target. So I wanted to talk more about like, okay, well, this laptop and phone does this. These are the specs for it. Rather than that, I wanted to do like, okay, well, here's my experience using it. Here's how it has impacted my life. Here's what you should consider if you were looking into it. So that was kind of like the area of tech that I wanted to explore more on. So yeah, those would probably be some of my bigger inspirations at that point.
So it's so funny that you said that you did vlogging and you realized that your life, you didn't feel that it was interesting, because I did the
Yeah.
exact same thing. I was like, I did like 4 vlogs. I'm like, I don't want to watch this. Like, why would anyone else?
Yeah.
And then I
What
just,
more would I do?
yeah,
Yeah.
I just did like a hard right into podcasting. But
Mm.
so then it's also the thing where shooting a video, editing, all that, putting it up, that's effort,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
But early on, one of your videos explodes, right? I think it was maybe the iPad Pro 10.5 inch thing.
I
That's,
think so. Yeah.
yeah, that's not too far from your start. So
Mm.
were you thinking, how were you feeling about the effort when you made the switch to tech? And when that sudden bump came, what was that moment situation like?
So I'll say like the effort for doing tech videos is slightly more than actually vlogging, because vlogging is kind of like you don't have to really prepare
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
You kind of just you have like a loose idea outline of some of the things that I kind of maybe want to talk about in the vlog, but more so it's kind of just the events of your day. You're
yeah.
documenting the journey of the trip or day or whatever the premise is. But on the tech side, you have to like research. You have to like, you know, if you're trying to get a product, reach out to the brand, get the a product, or you know, buy it or fund it, and then actually research the product, actually use it in your life, see how it impacts you, and then come up with a script. And
Mm,
obviously you can't really be as loose with it as like a vlog, because you got to deliver more value, in the sense that people are clicking on it to actually learn something about that product or
yeah,
something. um, so there's a lot more effort involved. So that I noticed right away, the amount of effort that it required. And that's why even like the proximity of my videos, at least initially, was really bad. I was doing like one video like sometimes like 2 months apart, which is why when like a couple of my videos took off, like especially that one, I was surprised, because you know, up until then everybody was telling me like consistency is the only thing that's gonna, you know, help you grow. But I mean, for some, like, alhamdulillah, whatever reason it was, right? You know, that particular video took off, and then I was like, okay, well, I don't really have to put out like 2 videos a week, as long as, you know, maybe I'm focusing on my story and my quality, and I keep doing that, and maybe that'll work. And for quite some time, that did work.
mm,
Like it was just, you know, a couple of videos would take off, but I never really paid attention to analytics. I never really paid attention to, oh, how this video is doing, how that video is doing. It was kind of like, I'm just creating because I like it. I enjoy this. This is
right.
giving me a chance to step away from my day job and actually just, you know, have fun doing it. And the funny thing is, now that I'm doing this full time, now I'm paying more attention to analytics and everything like that. And it's kind
Sure.
of
The
pulling
stakes are
a
high.
little bit away from that. Yeah, the stakes
Yeah,
are high. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, but yeah, I miss that. Like having just, you know, nothing to worry about, and just making something and just putting it out there.
Mm.
So
So when you
yeah,
started out, then it sounds like this was more like a creative endeavor first rather than
yeah.
a financial incentive. When did that sort of shift, when you started, all right, this is making some real money, we could
Mhm.
look into making things more consistent? When did that start to come about?
Yeah, so that was more so a realization at a certain point where I was like, okay, well, there are a lot of people that are doing well in YouTube. So I have this thing where anytime I see somebody do something, and it's like, yeah, I could do that, and then
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want
yeah,
to do that,
yeah.
right? So if I see like a YouTube video of like some completely out of my niche, but it's like something that they've done that I think is cool, I'll be like, I can do that. I can. So, and I want to try to do that. Right. So I kept seeing all these YouTubers, and like, they were like, yeah, we're full time and everything. And I'm like, why can't I do that? And I really got tired of doing my day job. And like, I would literally look for pockets of time where it just got
Mm,
so exhausting, because my commute to work, I live kind of like on the outskirts of Toronto, and then I had to commute into downtown Toronto for work. So my train ride would be about an hour. Door to door was about one way, about an hour and a half. So I was spending nearly 3 hours in a commute every single day, and then working those long hours. So it just got really difficult. And the only time I would have to edit would be on those train rides. So every
oh,
train ride, I'd be excited. I'll pull out my laptop. I'll go up to the quiet zone where everyone's sleeping, and then headphones in. And then that's when I would do my research, my editing, and everything like that. And then I would do my recordings either late at night once I got back from work, or I would do them early morning. when the kids and wife and everyone are asleep. So I'll wake up extra early to do that. And that was the only time I would find. So that sort of lifestyle, I enjoyed the hustle, but it got really tiring for me because I just wasn't sustainable. I was constantly, thinking about it, even when on the weekends when I'm trying to spend time with the kids or family or anything, it's just churning in my head. So it wasn't sustainable. So at that point, I thought, you know what, I have to make a decision. Either I focus on my career, and because also on the career standpoint, it's like, if I'm not spending my extra time, I noticed that people in my career, people on my level, were starting to step up on opportunities where I wasn't. And I looked into it, and it was because they were doing extra work and extra things, picking up extra slack on the weekends or whatnot. And that was giving them further opportunities. So I was like, okay, well, no, they're going, no, they're going. Like, I'm like just stuck in the middle, right? Okay, well, neither am I doing well in my career, neither am I doing well on YouTube. Like I'm gonna, it's just gonna burn
Yeah.
out and not be good in either. So I thought, you know what, at this point I have to make a decision and kind of just focus my efforts on one thing. And at that point I said, you know what, forget the career. I'm just gonna go full 100% on this. And that's when that kind of just switched. And then I was like, okay, well, here are all the ways I can diversify my income streams. Here are all the ways I can, with all the things I can do to try to get to the level where I need to in order to go full time. And then that's when kind of switch happened.
We got to this part a bit earlier than I was expecting, but in your you mentioned the family thing in your 20K subscriber Q&A video and in other Q&A videos also, you've mentioned this thing that you said just now where you're just constantly in that YouTube video edit, schedule, record mode, and people ask you, how do you make time for this, because your job's busy too, and you're like, you cut out your entire social life, and this was all you were doing. I was wondering, because there are echoes of this in Casey's life, one of your biggest inspirations, and he's ever since he moved from New York to LA, he's done a bunch of podcasts, and he was like, yeah, I was probably heading towards a divorce if I didn't stop vlogging every day, because it was just, that was his life, the hustle thing.
For sure.
And it's not like your job was laid back anyway. So how did you start to realize that this would be a problem? Because you've always mentioned that your wife's been super supportive, but you have like 3 kids. Did you start to get worried about that phase at some point?
I mean, it's always been something that I was having at the back of my mind, and it is still something till this day that I struggle with, is turning that off. And especially now, and I didn't realize this, I thought, you know what, okay, if I'm doing this full time, I'll be able to kind of just do this full time and then leave this and then go back, when I go back home, that's it, like it's cut off. No. And I think that kind of that's one of the turmoils of entrepreneurship, is that like it just becomes your baby, and like it doesn't matter whether you're spending like 12 hours, 15 hours, or 3 hours. It's always going to be something that is going to be on your mind. It's like a kid, right? And you're constantly thinking about it. You can't, like, because for me, it's like every hour that I don't spend on this is an hour that I'm not growing, and that kind of starts to eat away at you. So I think I mean, the solutions are, we know what the solutions are. I'm not good at the solutions, but I mean, the solution is there. It's like, try to set a healthy limit where you're like, you know what, from this time to this time is when I'm working. After this time, I cut off, right? So still a work in progress for me. And still something that, I have to keep working on. But alhamdulillah, having those clear conversations with your spouse or significant other, or family members, whether it's your parents, whoever's involved in the process, having those conversations, like telling them what you're kind of going through as well, it definitely helps, because it helps the other person empathize with the situation that you're coming from. So I think as long as you have that open communication and there is effort that you're putting towards that, you're okay. And I think Casey's specific situation was just, it was what I'm going through time like 10x, because he was doing daily vlogging, right? So every day he would film, every day he would record and upload, right? And I think there is a healthy balance or a limit there where you can find a middle ground where you're maybe doing like you're doing some in a week, but you're cutting off and then kind of going to your family and trying to disconnect from that.
Yeah.
But I think naturally that will always be a struggle for all creators or all entrepreneurs for that matter of fact. It's just going to be in your mind, and you have to figure out a way to shut it off.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know if it was Johnny Harris or someone, but him and his wife, they're also like a creative couple, and they were, I think, talking about, boundaries. And I think people say that, yeah, you're not working a job, this is your time, but do a 9 to 5, set those boundaries in your mind. Once you leave your studio, your very amazing studio, by the way. I want to talk to you about your bike.
It's a mess.
Yeah. No, the bike, the Ducati just covers all the mess.
Yeah.
But another thing was, you mentioned your parents, and I'm very curious about this.
Yes.
First, you did not become a doctor. So that's already a disappointment in desi circles. And then you start doing this video thing online, and now you've quit your job. What was there any pushback on that level? Like, what the hell are you doing?
So I tell this even to I do I help with the local youth programs at the masjid here and stuff. Yeah. So I'm very involved with the youth community, and it's the same problem that they all have. Like, a lot of them, they want to be basketball players, they want to do this, they want to do that, something completely different. And there is still always this mindset where none of that is safe. You have to go to school, get a proper job, and do this, do that. So I guess first I'll start with my particular situation. So my parents were if I did this when I was first doing university, yes, there was probably going to be more pushback. But I started this after I got married, after I was already working in a really good job. So I mean, at that point, they were just like, well, beta, you're earning, you're supporting the house and everything, so that's fine. You can do whatever you feel like. But leaving this job was still a little bit daunting. But alhamdulillah, like even my dad, he's kind of like an inspiration for me, because he, at the age of I think around, he was 48 or 50, he left his engineering job he was working for many years, and he went into real estate. And it's because he didn't like working at that desk job for so long. So I mean, it's never too late to make a switch, right? If my dad could do it at the age of 50 to do what he loves, and it's going well for so many years now, like what he always used to tell me is that, well, he still does tell me, but if your risk and everything is already written for you, right? How much you're going to make, what you're going to make is already written for you. It's literally a matter of fact of, okay, one, is it halal? And number two, where you're getting that risk from, right? So at the end of the day, whatever I'm going to make is already written, whether I do that through this YouTube thing or whether I do that through my day job, right? So it's a matter of, making believing that this is the route that you want to try. And and just taking that leap of faith, which is the most scary part. And in terms of the actual, if you're younger, right? And I'm not sure, if you have a younger audience also watching, what I tell all these kids is that your parents are also they're super important, because whatever you want to achieve is not going to be possible unless you have your parents doing they're backing behind you, right? And if they are persistent, obviously they're not going to be okay, you know what, if you want to do gaming online, sure, skip school, start gaming. No parents going to do that, right? And I'm in social media, and I don't think I would ever say that to my kids. So the thing is, I would still do whatever they ask, right? But what I would pull away from is the things that you have control over. So for example, one of my students, he wants to be a basketball player, and he's good at basketball, but his parents are like, that's not going to earn you a paycheck, right? You got to be going to school, you got to do this, right? And he was very frustrated with that. So I told him, look, you go to school, you do whatever you need to do, right? Do that, right? That's not going to change that. You're still going to have that, but it doesn't mean that you cannot pull away from your social time. You cannot pull away from your gaming time where you're relaxing. That's when you go play basketball and train and make that kind of your focus, right? And if on these kids, they'll also say, oh, I don't have time. And I'm like, well, if you don't have time now, it's only going to get worse
Yeah.
every step of your life, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going to grow up, you're going to have a job, and you have to study and have a job. You have to like, further your career. You have to, one day you might get married, you might have kids, this, that. Like it never gets more time. So at any point in your time, the younger you are, that's the most time you're going to have available in your life at any point.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just gotta try to juggle both and take away from, maybe your social life, take away time from maybe, other things that you're gaming, right? That's what I would say. Yeah.
No, and this is also one of the reasons why I want to talk to you, because our audience is, mostly in Pakistan, and one of the biggest challenges with content creation and YouTube in Pakistan is the financial incentive is super low. Like the CPM and stuff like that just doesn't work because, currencies, purchasing power, all that stuff. But like everywhere in the world, every kid wants to be a YouTuber. Every kid wants to be a content creator. So I was interested in, there was you, and there's also Patrick Tomaso, people who are, well, now you've changed, but not full-time YouTubers, that they have a job and they also do this, which seems to be the stable route. Like, your parents are going to be concerned, but as long as you're getting the work in, also in Pakistan, it's not just that your parents are concerned. It's like, it's actually super difficult. And also YouTube is super saturated now. There's all those things. It's just this approach which has a bit of compromise, but it's way more realistic and achievable. Like not everyone, you're not going to be Mr. Beast, you're not going to be MKBHD, which is the only standard that people want overnight. And even those people work super hard, and it's just, people don't realize it. So that's also one of the reasons why I want to talk to you. Speaking of, then coming back to then your channel, I wanted to understand, because I wonder how everyone talks about, the algorithm, this magic mystic rune thing that nobody understands. In your videos now, you're at like 50,000 subs almost. There's like some videos which there's the consistent videos that do like tens of thousands of views, right? From the 30 to the 90. I was doing my accountant analysis on your channel.
I've noticed,
And then there's some videos that blow up, right? And mostly Apple products. So do you think that's your category, do you think, or just that's what it's become, or that's something you focused on?
So I think in YouTube, there's a constant pressure to kind of submit to the algorithm and do what the algorithm thinks. Like everybody comes into it thinking that, oh, I'm going to do what I like. And then they realize the more I do what I like, the more unwell that it doesn't do that well. I have to do what the algorithm likes. And then it kind of just changes you into this person who's the same as everybody else. You're still doing the same clickbaity titles. You're still doing the same, style of thumbnails. So it kind of just forces you to be whatever, people want to see. So I actually have a problem with that. And that's, even though like some of my videos have blown up, I could be doing a lot better. For example, my most viewed video, I think over like 1 million views, is my iPad accessories video. Well, now I have a short that's done like 2 million, but I think in terms of actual videos, my iPad accessories, that one has done over 1 million. And the thing is, when I dropped that and it was blowing up, everybody was telling me, Tausif, like, this is a time you got to zone in, start doing more iPad videos, start doing more accessory videos, more iPad accessory videos. And for that entire year, that rest of the year, I don't know if it was just subconscious or I adamantly didn't do any of them. I didn't do any iPad videos. I didn't do any accessory videos, and I didn't want to. And it's a really bad business decision and a really bad growth decision, because I could have fully ridden that wave of people that were checking that out. And then YouTube would recommend this video and they were all kind of like rise up. But I've always been like, I only do videos on stuff that I enjoy talking about in that very moment. If like, something is hot or I haven't done a video on it, but like, I don't want to talk about it, I'm not going to do it. Right. So for me, it was like, I've already done my iPad accessories video. I'm not going to put out more like, oh, iPad accessories under $25 or something. Like I didn't want to do that. So I just didn't. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's a smart business decision, smart YouTube decision for sure. It just wasn't for me. And that's consistently happened. Like anytime one of my videos blow up, I usually don't do similar videos after that.
Mm,
But the reason why you see a lot of Apple related videos on my channel is it's simply because that's what I use. Like that's my daily, right?
right.
As a content creator, I edit on Final Cut Pro, which kind of got me into Mac. And after that, everything else was kind of just in that ecosystem of the Apple products. Like I did a Pixel video that did pretty well as well.
Mm,
But yeah, I just enjoy doing talking about products that I'm actually excited about and I use. So for example, I think I've done so far like 2 or 3 videos on the new MacBook Pros, and that's because that's kind of like taken up most of my brain space where I'm super excited about this. I'm talking to people about it. I'm, discussing with other people about different specs and actually
yeah.
trying to, check it out. So it's all because that is what I'm interested in that moment. So if you see like a particular video and, somebody asked me from work before I quit, actually, he's like, man, I love your channel, but you always just do Apple stuff, right? Like, are you paid by Apple? I'm like, no, it's just what I use, right?
Sure.
So it just comes down to that.
But then now that you're also doing it full time, then another
Yeah,
thing was there's the videos that get tens of thousands of views. There's the videos that get hundreds of thousands of views. But in
yeah,
between, you have videos that get like a few thousand views as well.
correct.
Given that now this is not just a side thing, this is your main thing,
Yeah.
right? All
Hmm.
those,
Hmm.
there's a difference in perspective of, yeah, the algorithms, whatever. I'm going to push my creative
Yeah.
side first. But now, do you feel, I mean, it's only been a month, and do you feel that you have to tune into the algorithm a bit more, make some of those creative compromises to sort of keep things consistent?
Yeah. And I think who was it? I think Sarah Dici, she said it best. She does like 2 for them, 1 for me sort of
Right,
thing. Like, so she'll
right.
do 2 videos for the algorithm, then she'll do 1 for herself. And I think that is probably a healthy way of
Hmm.
approaching it, where it's like, yeah, you still got to pay your bills. So you still got to, put out what people want to see. And then you can have maybe like 1 creative project that you do, in the month or something that, that really intrigues you. Um, I take a slightly different approach in the sense that for me, I still try to bridge that gap in every video. And so, for example, when I talk about tech and the A-roll segment of me kind of like sitting down, telling you about this laptop, that's my least favorite by far to talk about, to script, and to edit, and to film as well. My most exciting part is where I do like those funky like scripts and stories and like, like where I'm like, kind of breaking up with like my MacBook or something, like something
Yeah,
absurd,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's my most favorite part to think about, to script, to film, to edit. Like that part, that stuff gets me excited. Even the video I launched like yesterday, I did like this intro where like, me and my friends kind of come together. That
Yeah.
was my favorite part by far. So I think what I've tried to do is in every video, in order to get me excited about that video, I start off with trying to come up with a creative way that I can tell the story, right? So even if I'm doing a video for the algorithm, I'm like, okay, what's a creative way that I could have fun in this video and show my, exercise my creative muscles? And that's
Sure.
why I started doing the whole storytelling and,
Mm.
cinematic portions and whatnot, because that stuff gets me excited. And then once I do that, then it's like, okay, well, now I'll finish the rest of the video because I want everyone to see this first 10 seconds of this video. Okay, well, I got to finish the other, like, 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. So it's kind of like my motivation to get through the video as well.
Yeah, the creative thing is also interesting because you're not just doing like a funny setup. Like at times it gets
Mm.
elaborate. There's like, there's like a Nat Geo Discovery Channel homage. One video had like a crazy Morgan Freeman voiceover.
Yeah.
And so that's that's pretty unique. Like even in the entire tech space, I don't
Hmm.
think many
Hmm.
people are doing this. And what I was curious about was A, do you know where this comes from, this interest?
Hmm.
And B, and might be too early to ask, do you see yourself pursuing creative production or creative work more, maybe down the line? But is that something that you'd be open to, even if it meant
Hmm.
diverting from tech a bit?
For sure. Yeah. To answer your first question, I think I've always had like a very visual mind where,
Hmm.
I'll just have random like crazy ideas pop up into my head, and it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Where it's a blessing because alhamdulillah, like it gives me some unique perspectives on certain things that I want to, display, and I found the video to be like that's one of the reasons why I love doing what I do is like
Hmm.
it helps me translate whatever I'm thinking, even if it's a dumb, silly idea to something that I can put out and have potentially thousands of people watch it. So it's like a creative outlet for my mind that's already constantly thinking about these, but it's also a curse because I, like I said, it's tough for me to like shut it off. So there'll be times where like my daughter might wake up in the middle of the night. It'll be like 3 a.m. I'll wake up, I'll go take care of her. And then after that, while I'm heading back to bed, I'm like, oh my God, so a light bulb goes off. It's like, for that video that I have planned, I could start it off like this, or I could do this and tell the story that way. And then it's like suddenly my sleep is gone. Now
Hmm.
I have to like sit down and I'm not able to like tell myself, okay, no, because when that inspiration comes, I have to like get it down on paper like immediately. So I'll pull out my phone, laptop, whatever, and then I have to like I'll type out like the entire intro, the script, and everything, and then I'll be like, Fudge time, and my wife will be like, you're awake this whole time? I'm like, yeah, and it'll mess up my day. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like it sucks as well, but I mean, it's good that it kind of also opens my mind up to like these different things. So I think it's all about not like using your imagination and actually not being afraid to display, because a lot of people, they'll have something similar where they'll have all these cool ideas and crazy ideas, but they get hampered by the fact, or they're inhibited by the fact that they're scared to show that side to the public, or they're scared to, like, for example, for that video with the Morgan Freeman voice, right? That's, I think that when you go to my channel, that's a video I think I have featured that people can watch. I'm like literally jumping around like a little kid at the start, right? And it looks so weird. And even when I was editing it, I'm like, do I really want to do like this like ballerina jump, like whatever? Like it's just so dumb, right? But like I'm confident that that's one of the reasons why the video did so well, because it builds this whole narrative and the story, and like you just have to not be scared to let people
Yeah.
see that immature side of you, because I feel like everybody's has an immature side to them, and people really value seeing people that are vulnerable like that sometimes. um so I think everybody here probably gets great ideas, everybody listening, but it's a matter of not being afraid to share them and not being afraid to put them out,
Hmm.
and actually being confident in it. And then what was your second question? I totally
Do you
forgot.
think you're gonna push this more in the future? Do you see yourself going
Oh, to
down?
do external projects. Yeah, like I mean, I really want to get into more documentary filmmaking. It's
Hmm.
one of the things that I've had on the side of my mind, but at the problem with me is I have so many ideas of things I want to do, like businesses, projects, products, different YouTube channels, even, um, that it becomes so tough for me to focus on one thing at a time. And that is probably my biggest Achilles heel, because I get overwhelmed with everything I want to do, and I'm not able to focus on one thing. So
Hmm.
I think now I'm trying really hard to start to prioritize what I need to do. And right now my priority is to continue building this channel, but also to build up like a brand and a business alongside of it. So that's currently what I'm focusing on. But yeah, eventually I do want to, once some of these things that I want to, for like the longest time I've had in my mind, I want to establish and build and put out in the world. Once inshallah I do all of that, then I'll probably switch gears to, I have some projects that I really want to do in terms of documenting, like a documentary filmmaker style stuff. So inshallah, I'll probably get to that eventually. But
Hmm.
let's see.
Okay. Um, what's your YouTube community experience been like? Like, when did you start reaching
Hmm.
out to people to maybe collab, get new videos, meet people? What was that like? Because there
Yeah.
was this one point in YouTube where collabs were the thing. Every people were just
Mm.
flying all over North America to
Yeah.
appear in people's vlogs and this and that. It's died down a bit
Hmm.
as more and more people have gotten established, more and more people have entered. But
Yeah.
it's a good thing to form these new, genuine, creativity based,
Hmm.
associations and friendships. What that been
Yeah.
like?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think it stems from the fact that YouTube is very isolating. and because you're doing everything from like the brand managing, the scripting, the store, like filming, editing, everything is done alone. So it's very isolating, and I think that's why people love doing collabs. Aside from the fact that some people might do it because it helps increase their audience size,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I've actually found that not really to be the case. Like I've done several collabs, but your audience size doesn't really change much, and that's what I've noticed. Unless, of course, like if somebody like huge features you on their channel itself, but if even then, like I mean, if it's like a small feature, unless they're actually like talking about you and you're like the focus of that video. For example, when Peter McKinnon talked about Cody Warner, right? Like Cody, another creator here in the US, he blew up, but and I think if Peter just featured him as like, hey, it's my friend, doing something here, and like it was just like a short segment in the vlog, it might not have had that big of an impact, right? But because that video was featured on him, I think it made a big impact. So I think it comes down to people just wanting to interact with other people that are interested in the same thing, and going from there. And I'd highly recommend are like-minded together to talk about different things, and how we can improve each other and whatnot. It's super beneficial. Like in my space, in my friends circle and my family circle, I am the only one that's interested in filmmaking, interested in tech, interested in all of these things. Nobody else is, right? So it's further isolating, because then it's like you just have nobody to talk to about this, right? Like not even your friends. So that's when people, like, you start reaching out to like other people, right? And I found that really helps, because now a lot of my day spent talking to these other people. Even, for example, let's say I come up with a thumbnail, I'll send it to like my friend Canupsi, and I'll be like, hey man, I need help with this. Like, what do you think of this? And then he'll be like, no, do this. And then we just talk about it, right? And it helps. Or like talking to somebody else about having a family and struggling on YouTube as well, with like, how to be committed to both. So it definitely helps, and I recommend looking out for those like-minded people and kind of just building that network in your mind. And I think it also kind of ties back to what I mentioned at the start of this podcast with the whole networking aspect of it. And I think that is always going to be the biggest thing when it comes to business, or even creative space in the creator economy, or in any economy, is networking. It's like, if you can master down networking and helping build those networks of friends and people that are like-minded, I think you can accomplish a lot of things and build a solid audience.
Following up on the thing though, there's something that's unique about you in terms of just famous YouTubers. You're desi and Muslim. How's
Yes.
that experience been interacting with people? Is there any pressure? Because I'm not in North America. I wasn't even in the West until recently. All I saw on the news was only on the news the thing about representation and this and that and stereotypes and stuff. I lived in the Middle East or Pakistan, so there was none of that over there. How real has it been for you throughout? And also, does it tie into the community work that you do at the masjid?
Yeah, so I've always been somebody who is, I strongly believe that who you are, you have to be confident and proud of who you are. And if you are, then other people will, like we constantly think, especially in desi culture, like even over here in North America, we think that like people are ashamed of our culture, like for example, oh man, if he sees me like eating like Indian food or something, like desi food, then it's gonna be bad. But like if you're like confident and proud about it, like I feel like people actually respect that even more, rather than looking down on that, right? And it's just something that we've psychologically developed when we're going like abroad or anywhere, really. So I think that if you're confident and proud of who you are, then everyone else will respect that even more. So, for example, when I was working, if I needed to pray, right, I won't be like, hey, I just need to use the bathroom, and I'll go and pray like in a room or come. Like I'll be like, hey, I have to go pray, and then that strikes up a conversation, and it's like, oh, like, is this something that you do every day? I'm like, yeah, I have to do this 5 times a day, blah, 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 talk about it. Not only is that a dollar opportunity, but it's also like they're like intrigued and actually interested because it's a different way of life from theirs. And they respect that, right? The fact that you are confident enough to talk about it or do something about it. Like in one of my videos, I think it was like a vlog. I had like the local sheikh from here, from our masjid, like Sheikh Dawood, and I brought him on. It was like a Ramadan video, because the video was like what I've been up to or something, because I didn't drop a video for a while and it was Ramadan. So I thought, why not just talk about it? So I
Yeah.
kind of Skyped him in, and then he explained what Ramadan was in the video. And a bunch of my YouTube friends, you can even see in the comments there, some of them were like, I had no idea about Ramadan. This was cool to learn about, right? And then like a few people messaged me on the side, like, asking some questions about it and stuff. So I think we kind of just put ourselves in that box thinking that, oh, people don't want to know about that, or people will not, care about me, or like, look down on me if I show the side of me.
Mm.
In fact, I think if you are confident and proud of your background, I think it does more, because it makes you unique and sets you apart and aside from everybody else. And that's, in my opinion, that's a currency. Like if you can differentiate yourself from everyone else, like, people are going to notice you, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
essentially that's what building an audience is being noticed by people, and people wanting to relate to you, right? So
Yeah.
I think that that's a large part of it.
Given, I mean, you're in Canada, where as an outsider, it seems that things
Yeah.
are not as charged as they are in the US, just
Mm.
in media and news and stuff. Um, do you, does this put any pressure on you, like that you have to be like a model desi person, model Muslim all the time? Is that even a thing that you think of consciously?
um not not ru- Not really, because I
Right.
guess I'm just being myself. I
Mm.
don't really, like if I'm doing something, then I'll kind of just show it on camera. It's just who I am. But like, also, it's not a big deal for me because I don't really film a lot of my personal life, right?
Sure.
So if I was filming my personal life, then yes, it could probably impact my thinking, impact what I do. And that's one of the reasons that Casey even mentioned, right? Because he was filming his family a lot, right? And because he was filming his family a lot, he would try to act in a certain way to bring about a certain reaction from his family that he
Yeah.
could get on
Yes.
camera,
Yeah.
right? So because I don't do any of that, I think I'll have my kids in some of my videos, but you won't see their faces. You'll see the backs of their head or something very, like, minor. Um, because of that, I don't think it impacts me as much. Like, I don't have to think, but uh, because all the community involvement that I do have locally here, I think like a lot of eyes are definitely on me. Like,
Yeah.
especially when I go to the masjid and stuff like that. Like a lot of these kids, they come up to me and they talk to me about this and whatnot, and I'm happy about that fact, because that's one of the main reasons I actually started doing this whole YouTube thing, was because one of the driving factors for me was like, we have always constantly been told, I don't know if it's Desi thing or if it's a Muslim thing, is to kind of
Mm.
stay away from the media. And
Yeah.
like, we don't watch that, we don't do that, we don't partake in that. And that's kind of really put us at a disadvantage to like everyone else in society, because
Yeah.
we don't have many people representing Muslims. And the thing is, when I go to the masjid, when I ask these kids, like, talk to them about, they don't know who all the latest celebrities are, they don't know who all the, like, the famous people are.
Really.
Who do they know? They know YouTubers, they
Right.
know
Right.
TikTokers. They don't know, like, they don't really care about anything else other than like the TikTok world, the YouTube world, and stuff like that. These are the people that they're looking up to. But you ask them who their favorite YouTubers are, and you won't hear many Muslim names,
That's,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
You won't hear any Muslim names at all. And like the few people that that may come into the industry that are, Muslim, um, their parents may not want them watching those people, right? They may not be the best of examples, but other than that, the people that might be good examples, maybe they're just talking about Islam, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's another thing I didn't want to do, right? I didn't want to, like, come and just talk about Islam and stuff like that. But I thought it would be more beneficial if I had like an actual niche that I was part of, and I, do that through my actions, and like the where I, brought in the sheikh one episode randomly,
Yeah.
because now I'm actually hitting a much wider audience, and people are actually, taking notice to these things. So I think it's definitely a part of my identity, where I want to, like, the younger generation to see that, what, you don't have to be, an extreme Muslim in terms of, like, going out and doing everything else that, like the larger vlog community might be doing. And neither do you have to be ashamed of what your identity is or who you are or anything like that. You can be yourself, and you can be on media. You can be doing podcasting. You can be doing, YouTube videos. You can be doing TikTok videos, and you don't have to be ashamed of who you are. Be proud of
Yeah.
that, and that you can use that to your strength. So that's definitely a motivating factor.
2 questions before I let you go.
Sure.
One of them is something you might expect, and the other, I think, maybe not. But the first one is,
Okay.
what's the diversification looking like? You said there's business, there might be products. Is there like a merch line that's going to drop soon? Or can you even talk about it at this stage?
So there's a few things I can't talk about because I
Right.
have a few things going on. But essentially, from a business standpoint, I guess I'll mention it generally,
Yeah.
macro. Business standpoint, I think YouTube, if you want to succeed on social media, and I think I wanted to mention this earlier when you brought up the whole, AdSense and everything being really bad in Pakistan, and the CPMs and everything, and I think building a business on social media, like on YouTube or anything now, is a lot about it's not really about okay, can I make enough AdSense? It's basically, can I build a community? If you're able to build a community of people that are invested in what you're doing, excuse me, then I think you can really pivot into any category you want, right? And before you build that community, you obviously you're like, okay, well, how do I make that paycheck? Well, you can diversify your income streams. So there's AdSense, which is the smallest part for me and for majority YouTubers. Then there's brand deals. Brand deals are a huge chunk of it, right? And that's what really kind of helps people make this a full-time gig, is the brand deals, right? And how do you get those brand deals? Well, it's by consistently doing quality or something different sort of quality content that gets you noticed, right? So again, this goes back to the community aspect of it. Like, are you doing something that's getting you noticed by people in the community? Are you doing something that's getting you noticed as something different that they're not used to? So even when I had 500 subs, when I was much smaller, I was reaching out to some brands, and the brands checked out my videos and they were like, this is cool. Yeah, we don't mind sending you stuff, right? Yeah, and people usually think that when you're that small, you're not really going to get anything, but I think it's more so has to do with, okay, well, is your stuff also quality? Is your stuff also different? And is there engagement, right? You may have maybe with let's say 50 subs on your channel, but all 50 of those people are commenting 4 times on your video, and they're engaged and they're talking and everything like that. These are all things that people pick up on, right? And that also kind of ties into another income stream, which is affiliate income, because when you're talking about something, you recommend something, your word has merit, right? And people will look into that. So there's affiliate income. And then once you get to a certain level, then you can start branching off into product development, you building a product or something. Then there's merch development, clothing lines, this, that. And the thing is, once you actually have that audience, you're pretty much unstoppable, because you can literally pivot into any industry or category. You can see with Jimmy and Mr. Beast, right? Beast Burgers and Beast this and philanthropy and that. But you can pivot into anything. The currency, and I think Gary Vee said this many years ago in his book, Crush It. The currency of the future is going to be your audience, right? If you have an audience and a presence that you're able to, reach out to, then you're going to be able to do start up any business that you want, even if it's not within the niche that you initially developed. You can, easier to get jobs, easier to do this or that, and pivot into different opportunities. So I think building that presence is very important, and was very important for many years now, and is even more important now in today's day and age.
Sorry, before I get to my last question, I wanted to ask about the bike. How'd you end up on the Ducati? Why this? Is this a thing that you always wanted to get?
So firstly, my studio is extremely messy because I'm completely changing it up. Okay. So I'm actually building it out. So right now, I literally just have this one spot that looks decent, that when I film, that's what you see. But aside from that, everything is a mess. So I'm actually I got some storage space at home. So I'm shifting everything in, and I'm going to design this. So that's why you see stuff in boxes and stuff over there. But yeah, the bike, the bike is something like I was always interested in. So the thing with me is I love doing things that are different, and it's a constant theme I guess I brought up. Like if I think of something and it's different, I want to do it even more. Like for example, I always wanted to do Muay Thai and boxing. I went and I started doing Muay Thai, right? And like my friends were like, "Well, you always talk about it. It's good to see that you're actually taking action, right?" Like a lot of people talk about doing different things, but just go do it. Just actually do it, and you'll find uh, like you'll feel a sense of fulfillment. So one of the things for me was I always wanted to ride a bike, and it's something that was over here, like back home, like in India, Pakistan, and stuff. Like it's very common to have a bike. It's nothing special. Over here, it's very uncommon, right? Vast majority of people don't have it. They're very rare on the streets, because I mean it's winter for like a lot of the months. It's very cold outside. You ride it for like a few months, but you pay insurance on it the whole year. There's a lot of disadvantages to having a bike. But I got a bike when I was in university. I rode for many years now, and then a few years back, and then after university, I kind of stopped. I got a sports car, and then I was like, okay, you know what? I won't do the bike anymore. But then I got married, and my wife didn't like the sports car, so I had to sell the sports car, get a viable car, and now I'm on that minivan life. So this is like my fun rocket. So this is what I do to kind of have like an outlet on the side. So I had a Ducati Monster a few years back, but then they came out with like the Panigale V2, and I mean I'm not that old yet where my back hurts. So I thought, you know what? Before I have to get into like a regular touring bike, let's enjoy the sports bike a little more. So I got the Panigale, and so that's kind of.
Before you go, a weird question that you may not have an answer for.
Okay.
Do you have any jinn stories?
What? That's so random.
It's random for anyone we speak to, but for this podcast, like the second episode we did way back in 2017,
it took off.
It was a horror story episode, right? People sent horror stories on Twitter. Me and my friends who started this, we read them out, made fun of the people. People loved it to the point where they're like, just do this. Just do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, right. We're not gonna go that crazy. But I asked people, you know, because anything you've heard, anything that's happened to you, that's super rare. But
so at our local masjid many years ago, basically one of the imams there, one of the sheikhs there, he's known for doing ruqyah, which is to actually help people who are afflicted by possession and stuff like that. So he does that, and he was one of my Quran teachers too. So that's when I did hifz at like the masjid. So I was there pretty much day and night, like all the time. So he would always try to rope me and like one of my friends into actually coming to one of like some of his sessions,
like and
so we have our fair share of experiences. So he would do like actual ruqyahs and stuff, and sometimes he would be there. He would teach us all about like stuff related to that. But one of the stories that kind of stuck out to me was at that masjid on the 27th night of Ramadan. There was a kid that had come to the masjid, right? And I hadn't seen him before, but he came and he was sitting in the masjid, and then the imam that does the ruqyah, he saw this kid, and he was very fidgety. Like he kept looking inside his jacket, and he was very fidgety, and he had this off feeling about him. So he told a couple of the other guys to keep an eye on him. And these other guys were like, they're like much bigger guys. They were like my mentors when I was like smaller at that point. So they were keeping an eye on this kid. And then suddenly what ends up happening is the kid starts panicking. He gets up, he runs outside to like where the slippers are. He starts putting on his shoes, and these guys, they're like, hey, everything okay? They go to talk to him, and suddenly this kid, like I don't know if he felt like he was getting crowded or questioned about what he was doing. He pushed them and he yelled so loud that people are saying like they've never seen somebody's mouth open that big and yell that loud. I think you see it on like horror movies and stuff, how like the mouth opens that big.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they get it from somewhere. Maybe this is something that actually happens. So
What?
he yelled so loud, and everybody, like the entire masjid that was like doing about that, everyone stopped and they were shook and they like looked, and the kid didn't put on his shoes even. He just ran outside, darted outside the masjid, bare feet. So at that point, the imam had come and he was like, "Oh, we need to go get him, right?" And then so these older guys, they all ran outside after him. They ran and they jumped in their car, and they're driving after him. And outside the masjid, it was like an undeveloped area, there's like farmhouses and stuff like around that area, but like the road was like a gravel road. So these guys are driving down this gravel road, and they're telling me this kid is running in front of them, and they're gunning it at like 80 kilometers, like like 100 miles an hour. They're gunning it on this gravel road, and this kid is outrunning them barefoot on the gravel. And suddenly he stops. So these guys start slowing down, and then he jumps into like the cornfields on the side of the road and disappears. And they don't find him after that the rest of the night. So they come back. So later on, the imam he spoke to the parents. So the parents reached out. He spoke to the parents and he's like, "Can I come over and see what's going on at home?" So he came over to the home, and the imam said he went to the kid's room and he asked, "Hey, can I check out his room?" And the parents are like, "Oh no, my beta locked the room. Like we can't go inside." And like, well, that's your first problem. Firstly, why are you letting him lock his room and you're not allowed going in there? Well, what's up with that? So they basically figure out a way, and he opens the door, and then they go inside. And when he goes inside that room, he sees like all of these like really like weird things that he has, right? And right then he knew like there was like blood and storage of urine and this and that and these random scriptures and stuff. And so it turns out that he was practicing black magic. The kid, yeah. So the parents had no idea. They had no idea how he got into this or got into any of this. But yeah, once they figured that out, and that son had eventually at that point returned home. That's when the sheikh took him, and then they took him to the masjid. And the thing is, when they actually interacted with him or engaged with him, he wasn't acting out. So I think what the sheikh was saying is that like when somebody's possessed, it's not like all the time. It could come and go, right? So he was back to himself. So they took him to the masjid and they read ruqyah on him and like did the whole process and everything like that, and helped him out. But yeah, like it's like if you get involved in that world, obviously like that stuff comes with the territory. So yeah, wow. But I mean, the moral of the story is don't let your kids lock their rooms.
I mean, that is probably one of the most intense ones that we've had.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry that it happened, but glad that we had the story.
For sure.
Yeah, man. Is there anything else you want to talk about before I'm all done with questions. We have all the answers we need. Anything you wanted to mention before we wrap?
I think that's from my end. Not much I can think of. Other than the fact that like I watched a couple of your stuff.
You did?
Some really cool people. Yeah, some really cool people that you have on. Like one of the people, I forgot his name. He's a landscape photographer. In Pakistan. I think that was your second last, like ones. Not your last. Yeah, but yeah, like I mean, I think you guys have spawned like a lot of talent there, and I think I'd love to talk to some of those people, and it was nice to actually get a chat with you as well. And I think you're very well connected with I guess the actual like people that are doing creative stuff in Pakistan and everything. And I think you can definitely use that to your leverage. Like if you have, like I said, those networks and you've built that, you guys can build a lot of cool stuff there. And maybe we can chat offline, but definitely have some ideas for you guys, and I think might be beneficial for you if you want to explore that at some point. But yeah, I love seeing all the creativity there, and lots of beautiful places. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'll be even allowed there because even though I never really lived there, but my I guess yeah, I guess I'm Canadian now because I'm from my background is Indian,
Okay.
so I don't even know if they will even allow me
I mean,
to come there. But
I think once your passport changes, you can just apply for a visa.
yeah,
Because I've
okay,
looked into this.
yeah,
I have
okay,
looked into it. Yeah, much of my
yeah,
not much of my family, but some of my family who live in the U.S., they're Indian. They can
yeah.
come on their U.S. Even Indian people can
Oh,
come.
nice.
It's a much
Yeah,
longer process, but it's possible. I
yeah.
mean, uh, if you're ever interested, I'm sure I can find somebody who can, set things up properly.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe we can try planning something like one of my friends here. Do you know Hisham Al Hadi?
No, I don't.
He's he's, do you know Farah Tashmi?
Yes, yes.
Farah Tashmi, yeah, yeah, her son. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, he's a good friend of mine. And he used to do vlogs, and a lot of them were in Pakistan
Right,
at a
right.
certain point. So like just watching a lot of his stuff, like I always wanted to come back. And now when I well, not come back but visit. Now when I saw that landscape photographer's page, I was like, I want to go there so badly.
Yeah.
So
That
maybe
story
I'll hit
is
you up some point.
that story is just crazy because this is just a kid who's not even in a major city. He doesn't have
Yeah,
fancy equipment. Just
yeah.
from Instagram, he's developed this
Oh yeah,
aesthetic with global appeal, got
yeah,
him funds that allowed him to get gear. That was a
yeah.
super. I mean, I felt inspired by watching, and he's like 20 years
Oh,
old, and I'm
100%.
like, this is
Yeah,
this is too
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Very talented, and you guys have a lot of talent there, subhanAllah. So yeah, no, it was nice running into that and also chatting with you.
for sure, for sure. All right, man. Thank you very
Oh,
much, Tausif. I will put the
appreciate it.
relevant links below. I don't know how much of a cross pollination we have in
God,
the audiences,
that
but I'm
doesn't
hoping
matter.
I
Yeah.
push people your way because my thing is maybe we can find like examples for people, that hey, this guy did it this way, maybe it'll be cool. So hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We're gonna stop recording now.
Appreciate it.
Again,
Thank you for having me.
Take care. All right,
Appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.